There we go. Got my audio working. Got the camera working. So I run this thing. I like to stream from my phone, and my phone was low on battery, and it was all connected and everything. And then because I raised my desk, it disconnected the power to it, and I was running without it being plugged in. So how about that? Anyway, I'm getting it powered back up. I'm just gonna have to do it on the live as I get some more power to it. I'm gonna do the old flipperoo on that. So you get to see some live tech support going on here. Live tech guidance. Oh, Jesus Christ. Yep, did not expect that to happen, but I guess that's what happens. And you gotta go with it. And I'm gonna go with it. And I'm not even talking to the right camera. I'm talking to the wrong camera. So I thought I did a good intro too. I don't know for the one person that was watching if it was a good intro. Let me know in the comments below if it was a good intro before it all went to shit. But nonetheless, this is Awaken with Blaken. Topics that I like to talk about range from a variety of things, whether it be, emotional intelligence, just spiritualism, plant medicine. Many topics are available to come up. Just more or less things that I kind of see throughout my life that are coming up in conversation, coming up with people who I coach or people who I just talk to on the street. Things that have been interesting and informative and transformative and empowering for me are the things that I like to discuss in this group and share with everybody as a way to kind of provide value to my channel, and also something I've been doing for the live as a way for me to not put as much energy into preparing a lot of content like I have been doing in the past. I do want to get back into preparing content. I am trying to get some videos out, but a lot of what I've been doing with my Empowered Tech Marketing consulting has taken a little bit more of my attention. I'm doing some content for that platform, which is on the School platform. It's the first thing I really wanted to bring up. There is a platform called School. I actually wanted to show that real quick by doing my website share here, and that's not the right one. Awesome. But so basically, there's a platform called School. I don't know if you have or have not heard of it, but School is a platform that allows you to create a community. Think of like a Facebook group, but a lot cooler, not on Facebook. It has access to, you can put courses up, and you can have leaderboards so that people kind of participate a little bit more within the community. And also calendar, so you can book events. It just ties a lot of elements in together. I've been using it for a lot of different coaching programs that I'm a part of and just other communities. It's a really great platform. It's SKOOL. I'd show you oh wait, I just fix it like that, don't I? Yeah, I can just switch this over to that. Oh, fixing things. Yeah, perfect. So yeah, let me just show you this real quick. So this is School. This is actually my Empowered Tech Marketing page, which there's a link in the description below. If you are a small business owner and you are looking to get into building a presence online and you want to create a business online, and you are, despite how brilliant you are, you struggle a little bit with the aspects of tech, then you can check out my service here, which is right now completely free for a lifetime. I'm only doing this, right now we're at 12 members. We got a lot of people asking questions on there. And in fact, there's one question right here that I need to ask and answer about. And if you are somebody who would benefit from this for the rest of your life, I highly recommend you join, because I'm only going to keep this open for free for the next probably about 8 members till we get to about 20 members. And then it's not going to go up that much, but it is going to be a price after that. It's going to be about $1. It's going to start out about $1 a month, which is still a great deal. If you do ask me. But then it'll slowly go up to 5, and then 10, and then eventually it's going to go up to about 30 to 50 to 70, depending really on how much content I add and as I add content. A lot of what I'm going to add on there is going to be some tutorials for people who also would like to use my who would also like to do my one-on-one consulting, it's going to feed into that. I'll get a little bit more into that later, but just know right now, that's where some of my time is going, and that's kind of why this live has actually been one of the better things for me to do. Even though sometimes it can kind of seem like a shit show, it is actually been a lot of fun and does help prepare me to have a more authentic and live presence, which is really what I'm excited about doing. So it's cool. While I've been talking and rambling, I have been taking care of getting my camera charged with the power. And look at this. I can actually flip over to my phone camera. Wasn't that fun just having that shut down in a minute? Honestly, I think I didn't even have my mic going. So I think that the intro was muted, which is awesome to know that happened. Because that was honestly the best part. But go figure, right? So what am I talking about today? You know, that's probably the question I need to get to. And today's topic is minimalism. Minimalism is something that I thought was really just kind of a buzz when Maria Kondo was doing all the decluttering shit for a while. And I do believe that movement really helped a lot of people start kind of assessing the things that they had and finding kind of more of an order to their lives. Because, man, we have so much shit that we don't need. There's so many things that we don't need. And it's one thing to kind of have things everywhere, like a hoarder, where you have to step over things and you have dead rats and shit in your place. It's one thing to have that, but it's you're not too far from that, even when you just kind of have things in the closet. When you have a lot of stuff that just doesn't serve you, that's being stashed. Even more so because once it's in the closet, you're kind of free to not even think about the things anymore. It leaves your peripheral of your mind. And you forget that it's even there until you need to go to the closet, until you actually need to go into the closet and find things that you want, and then all of a sudden you realize, why do I have all these things? And you've forgotten about them. And one of the big solutions is to throw it all away, but some people have a lot of sentimental attachment to these things that they don't want to throw away and that they don't want to part with, right? And I would say I'm still not 100% recovery, but I've done a lot of work because I've made two really large moves in my life. One of the more recent one being the move to being a digital nomad, trying to live completely out of a bag for a few years. And while I've kind of settled down a little bit and have a bit of a base camp now, I've even found that I've started hoarding things up into the closet that I forget that I even have, right? One of the ways that I kind of like to talk about this is the karate uniform and the guitar. This was a writing that I did a while back that never made it to my blog. My blog, by the way, is 2Bag Life. If anybody wants to check it out, I haven't written on there in a while. A lot of that was inspiration for a lot of the stuff I turned into YouTube videos, but it's still something that I want to go back to writing because I do like it. Nonetheless, the karate uniform and the guitar, I think when it comes to things like when you do hobbies, right? If you're not a big musician or if you're not really into martial arts, you have to buy equipment, you have to buy things, and those things invest a lot of money into them. And when at some point in your life, you either try to do this hard thing, try to invest yourself into this, and for whatever reason, you didn't want to put in the time, you didn't really want to put in the effort long term, it ends up just not working out for you. You will suddenly kind of at some point be like, well, I'm not going to be doing karate anymore, or whatever I'm doing with this uniform. I'm tired of seeing it hanging in my closet. I'm going to put it in the back, in the back in a box somewhere. I'm going to take this guitar, it doesn't use anymore. I need to put it deep into the closet because you don't want to get rid of it. You spent a lot of money on it, you invested a lot of time in it, and there's part of you that feels like, you know what? I'm going to come back to this at some point. I'm going to do this again later in the future. However, it never happens. You forget about it, months, years goes by, eventually you venture back into the closet again, and when you do, you find that back there again. And then you're reminded of the money you spent on it, you're reminded of the investment that you put, you're reminded of all these agreements you made to yourself. Not only these agreements that you made, but a lot of these promises that you've broken, a lot of these intents and this intention that you put out there that you never followed through with. And over time, that really affects you. It really does put you in a psychological state where you are vulnerable to having this negative feedback loop of your inability or your failure to show up for yourself and move forward with something that you had planned and invested and put the energy into initiating. So you have to keep reminding yourself of it every time you go in the closet and see it. And the reality is that you really don't need to do that. You need to get rid of it. You need to either get rid of it or you need to lean into it. You need to take it out from the back of the closet and put it in the front. Put it in the living room. Hang it on a rack in the middle of your room so that you're constantly reminded of these agreements that you made with yourself. But more importantly, you need to just not have as many things. One of the things that was really hard for me to give up was shoes. For a guy, I had collected quite a bit of different kinds of shoes for different events when I lived in San Francisco. And I think at one point I had 7 pairs that I rotated through pretty regularly, which is pretty big for me because I was never that into fashion or style until I got older in my life. And then I had different shoes for everything. The thing is that's fine if you have closet and space for it. But what I found, one of the first things I realized when I started traveling a lot is that there is no space for shoes. And if you think that there is, you don't travel enough. Because if you do travel any extent and you bring 5 pairs of shoes, you're going to take up pretty much half of a suitcase. And if you want to pay to ship that suitcase, it's going to be ridiculous. Like that's not the optimal way of traveling. I feel that you need 2 bags, one big bag, one big backpack-like bag with a smaller backpack that you'll use when you get to your destination for easy movability, and then another smaller carry-on bag that you can fit in the overhead bin. That's it. And if it can't fit all in there and you can't last for 2 months, 3 months off of that amount of space, you got to get rid of it. You've got to get rid of it. Now, if you're not somebody who's going to be traveling, being a digital nomad, hopping from town to town every few days, then it can be a little overkill to minimize that much. But when it comes to all the things that we keep, sometimes getting rid of everything and starting over can teach you a lot about your affinity with things. When I first had an opportunity to, whenever I graduated from college, I had a lot of things. A lot more things than I give myself credit for. I think at one point I had a 2-bedroom house, and the second bedroom was just storage. I never really did anything with it. I was there a whole year, and it was just stuff that I accumulated that I thought I needed because it was my stuff. And it wasn't until I needed to move to Kansas City and I had to go this long route with a U-Haul that I realized, oh crap, I don't need most of these things. And it wasn't until I left that I actually began this process of giving away things, selling things, doing a lot with all the crap that I had. And after doing that, it was an amazing amount of stuff I got rid of. I still had a lot of things. And I went all the way to Kansas City with all these things. While in Kansas City, I lived there for 6 years, and I moved pretty much every year I lived there. And every year I moved all this stuff. When I finally left Kansas City to move to San Francisco, I had to fit whatever I could in a little Hyundai, my Hyundai Sonata. And at that moment, I had to get rid of, I had about this much space to keep everything in, about this high to the ground. And I could fit it all in, but I got rid of even more things. And we're talking about furniture, bed, a lot of other things. Now, once I got rid of all those things, and then I went to San Francisco, I kept a lot of the stuff for another 6 years. And it wasn't until I left San Francisco. When I left San Francisco, it was a much different energy, because I was literally going to change my life to travel as a digital nomad. And when I decided to do that, my rule was, if I can't fit it in 2 bags and take it on a flight, it doesn't need to be with me at all. And so based on kind of that motivation, at some point when I was transitioning from no more San Francisco, there was a 4-month span where I started selling everything and minimizing everything. And it was amazing how much stuff, like one of the things that I think I had, and I still see pictures of it from when I was in Kansas City, is I had a case of poker chips. This case of poker chips, I think I used one time in Kansas City, and that would have been in like 2010. And here it is, almost 12 years later, I had never used these poker chips once, at all. And I was still trying to debate on what I was going to do with them. And it's like, the obvious answer is you're going to get rid of them. You're not going to carry around poker chips in a suitcase. Like, it's not an essential item at all. Like, what's the point? And while that was maybe an easy thing to get rid of, there were a few other things that were like, it's very confusing why I would have not been able to realize the poker chips were an easy thing to get rid of. But there were some things that were a lot more surprising to get rid of. And one of the things I had was I had this couch. And I'd actually bought it with an ex-girlfriend. And this couch it was a kind of a weird situation, because we were supposed to go on half on it, and then we didn't go on half on it, and then I didn't actually want it, but she felt we needed it, and then long story short, I got stuck with it, and then I ended up having this couch that was this IKEA couch that it wasn't a great couch or anything, but I didn't realize how essential it had become in my living space. I didn't know how much need I had attached to this thing. And when I was talking about selling everything, selling the TV, selling little things that I had, kettlebells and all this stuff, a lot of that stuff went easy. But when I finally decided to sell this couch, I found a buyer, and they came, and when they came, I had it still together. And I wasn't actually going to take it apart until they were there, so that way they could actually see how I took it apart and understand how to put it back together when they took it home. And actually, as I'm unscrewing this thing, I could actually feel in myself something. I felt like I was unscrewing something within myself. I was going to fall apart. Because even though this thing had seemed like it was, I'm going to be glad to get rid of this, there was a bit of enjoyment and happiness of what I had built where I was. And it wasn't apparent to me how much we can tie a lot of emotion to things. When I sometimes watch these hoarder shows, one of the things that they bring up so often is, because they'll try to justify, people will kind of go through, when they just have mounds of garbage everywhere, essentially. And people are like, what is this box for? What are all these papers for? What is all this rotting food for? And one of the things they'll say is well, I really appreciate the textures and the contours and the lines. And it's like, what the hell are you talking about? And I've never really understood that until I was unscrewing and I was taking apart my couch. And I started recognizing that there is a process that we go through where we assign crazy amounts of emotional weight to the things in our lives, for good or bad. Who knows kind of the more intricacy details of what actually is being assigned emotionally to it, but that's why we really don't want to throw things out. You see, we feel that if we throw those things out, we're actually throwing out ourselves, or in some way we're surrendering ourselves to some kind of defeat or some kind of failure. We're submitting to some kind of failure that maybe maybe not even some kind of failure, we're admitting to some kind of uncertainty that we haven't been able to properly regulate within ourselves. And I think it's important that we take time to audit the things. And of course, you don't have to move halfway across the world and become a nomad to do it. You can start doing these things today. But if there is a moment in your life, for instance, I have somebody close to me who's considering doing van life, and they may have to downsize a lot. When there's opportunities in your life when downsizing can occur, I really, really highly recommend that you take advantage of it. You know, like there's such an opportunity and growth to acknowledge, what do you really care about everything? Like, you really should be able to be in a place where if you got rid of, if there's not something you're using on a daily basis, if there's something you're using on a daily basis, yes, it should make sense that it's going to be inconvenient for you to have to part with that. But if it's something that you never used on a daily basis, or that you don't plan on using frequently, why? Why have an affinity around those things? Why be in a place where they have that power over you? You got to let go of that. And really find that it can have a better place somewhere else with someone else. Maybe someone else needs that guitar. Somebody else needs that karate uniform. You know, you can always come back to it later. By getting rid of things doesn't mean you've surrendered to never being able to do the thing. In fact, I would even say that by getting rid of those things and then recognizing that you're not going to do that anymore may give you even more of a motivation to come back to it later when you have more things panned out. But by having those things in the back of the closet, it's like they're still in the back of your mind. It's still back there, and it's still a reminder of something that you haven't come to terms with. So I challenge you to find the things in your life that are taking up a lot of space and are creating more clutter than necessary. And you don't have to Maria Kondo your life out. And actually, when I was doing some research, I even found that Maria Kondo isn't actually being as tidy as she was at one point. And I mean, maybe people don't even know who she is anymore. But she's was a Japanese author who wrote about some kind of Japanese movement where you basically you declutter and minimize things a lot. Interesting enough, but not something to the extreme. I'm still kind of, for the most part, kind of a messy person. I have my vibe and kind of a strategy of how I organize things, especially when I pack. I can pack everything I have in an hour and be ready to move to anywhere in the world in the matter of less than an hour. And that's because I kind of have a system where everything goes. And it's easy to know what's important and not important when you move around a lot. So for those that don't move, I recommend auditing what you have and giving yourself a better perspective of what really is important and really analyzing how you feel as you start moving those things out. I think you'll find that in some cases you have to justify a lot of things that you don't even know why you're justifying it, but it's rooted in something. And discovering that is going to lead to a better life and a better future. So I appreciate you listening to this talk on minimalism. If these are the kinds of topics that you like, I really invite you to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. And like this video, because I do this every week on Wednesday at 5 o'clock Pacific time, at least for now until time changes, and then probably my time will change on this. But every Wednesday I'm here. I'm also available on Instagram at Awaken with Blaken. I'm available on the school platform. Link in the bio below. The project there is Empowered Tech Marketing, where if you are a starting business, I am very interested in helping you getting over the hurdle of tech and the application of marketing within it. And if you would be interested in a 30-minute consultation call with me for my coaching services, I am an empowerment and transformation coach, where I help you discover blocks and eliminate self-defeating beliefs and help balance the self, purpose, and relationships within your life to help bring you to the next version of yourself. these things are interesting you, there are links in the description below. I look forward to talking and getting to know you more in the future. Thanks so much for joining on and dealing with my technical things in the beginning here. I hope to have a better start next week, and look forward to seeing you after this weekend. Take care.